to the throne of the flourishing
What is
empire
up,
of
ladies
Charles
and
his
gentlemen?
son,
Wicked
when
here,
Christmas the fourth,
and
whose father
I
had
know I'm a
prepared
dollar
him for
late.
this
A dollar
very
late.
glorious
I know
hour.
I'm a day late and a dollar short, but I've been seeing a lot of
The
stuff in
infants
the
took
social
him
media sphere
to his father,
about Kingdom
who with
Come
a heavy
Deliverance,
heart
and a
strayed
lot of
from
people
home
are
to
still
think of
asking
his
whether this
destination.
game is worth their money, and especially in a
The
lot of
legion
the tip
tells us in
videos and
Dante's
playthroughs, a lot of
Incarnation
people asking whether
the
this game is
significant
actually
appearance of
fun,
the Pope.
because in watching other people play, they say that they think the
Wenceslas
gameplay
Kane
is
did
boring.
not
So
impress the
I know there's
Imperial
at
patriarch.
least 100 other YouTubers out there
Dismounted
who have
till Rome was
covered the
exasperated by
buy,
the
wait for
action,
sale, whether you should actually
filled the
get it,
hearts of his
what this
half-brother.
game is about, all of that stuff. But as per the title of this video, I wanted to make a video saying that if you're into that sort of thing, this may just be the most engaging and enlightening experience you may ever encounter in a video game if you're into that sort of thing. Um, I don't edit, I don't have the time nor the skill, so I apologize in advance for that. This is just going to be one random dude rambling on. If that's not for you, be gone thoughts. Just kidding. If it's not for you, just hearing a dude talk over some gameplay without some super duper editing, feel free to go ahead and head out now. If you do want to hear some hopefully enlightening information that would sway you one way or the other, if you're on the fence about this game, stick around and hopefully I have some information for you. So without further ado, I'm going to load one of my games here, and we are going to go to what was one of my original playthrough videos. I do have just a very few gameplay videos up, and this is that. But actually, where I wanted to start, I thought what better thing to do for the gameplay background than to go pick up some of the pre-order armor. And that's where I wanted to start talking too. I believe that Warhorse Studios handled this about the best you possibly can. If when you get done with a little entry stuff, you have a little intro sequence, and then essentially, without spoiling much, what happens to Henry, who's who you play as, everything in his world essentially falls apart. And when you wake up, you essentially wake up here. And from there, the entire world is pretty much free to you. But if you pre-ordered or were a backer of the game, then this horse is not yours, by the way. I stole this horse. But if you just kind of can go from there. But if you pre-ordered or were a backer of the game, you get 5 ancient maps. Which, let me go. Oh, that's not my inventory. Let me check my inventory, and I have put that away. Actually, you know what? It may be on my horse. I went too far. Oh, no, it's not on my horse because I don't own this horse. But there are 5 maps, and you also get a under armor, essentially your padded armor on your person. And these maps lead to what is some pre-order armor. And this armor is it's not the best armor in the game, but it is definitely better than most of the stuff you'll find on people you run across early in the game, and on chests that you can unlock without a very high lockpicking skill, or without being able to sneak around and steal extremely high quality stuff. But there's a secondary element to this armor that makes it so good, and that is that it's all valued at 1 groschen. And the way some of the mechanics work in this game, in order to keep all of your armor, obviously has a value for the stat in which it it's how good it how did it here. Let me just go there since I'm losing my mind. The No, I didn't want to unequip it. Where did it go? Essentially, the level with which it is worn, and its durability stat, so to speak. And that durability stat will decrease the effectiveness of the gear until it actually essentially becomes completely inapt. And in doing so, the value of that gear is the value with which, or the ability in which, your character has to be to repair it. So being valued at 1 groschen means that even a starter character with very little gear and or very little maintenance ability, they can continue to keep their gear well kept and durability high, and therefore they can keep their stuff up. So it allows you to both build your maintenance stat, because you can actually work on the gear, and it allows you to keep your money so that way you can use it for other things such as purchasing horses, purchasing items, things of that nature. So it's a really good set of gear to get started in the game. It's not game breaking. It definitely gives you a leg up though, and gives you a great start. Here's why I think Warhorse did this wonderfully, and why this is some of the best ways to handle pre-order stuff. Again, like I said, if you pre-order, you get those maps in your inventory, but if you didn't, that gear is still just floating around in the world in those chests. You can go grab a YouTube video of someone giving you those locations, and it's still there even if you didn't pre-order it. If you're late to the game, if you're one of those people that likes to wait for those first few months bugs, which this game definitely has, and I will get to that in a moment, but if you're one of those people that likes to wait for that stuff, you're more than welcome to. And you're not restricted from getting that pre-order leg up that other people will have, unlike how most game developers handle pre-order stuff. You're never deprived of content just because you weren't one of the people who put faith into the game before it actually was released. And so I think that was one of the best ways you can handle pre-order content in the world. They throw a bone to the people who did support them before this game came out, but they didn't withhold anything from those who didn't. Or, there are people who just don't have the money for the game right now. There are people who, have to wait for a birthday or for Christmas or for a Steam sale or whatever, that may be. Or they just flat out haven't heard about this game yet, and they get told about it from a friend, or they see a video of it later on, 2 or 3 months after release, and go pick this up.
Certainly no time for roving.
We're not... Why is... Oh, I must be at the edge of the map. I keep hitting the wrong button here. Let's see where we're at. Oh yeah, we're way off from where we need to be. Okay, so that's blocked off. That may be a DLC content, or I just may not be far enough in the actual story to go there. But that's not even, you know what? Let's mark our map so we know where the crap we're going. It's going to be up here north of Talmberg, about right there. So kudos to them on that. So let's move on to some of the actual meat and potatoes of this game. The historical accuracy of this game. Obviously, it's not 100% historically accurate. Some of the clothing of the regular townsfolk, I've already seen people picking it apart just a little bit. It's not exactly what people in this area were wearing in that time period. Now, it is somewhat close. Every bandit and commons folk you run across would not know the schools of fighting that the people utilize in this game. Obviously, a bandit is going to fight very guerrilla warfare-ish. They're going to simply fight with... I'm just going to let it auto... By the way, if you just hold down trot, they will auto follow the roads. Horses are pretty smart in this game. But, bandits are not going to fight with these eloquent schools and techniques, and these people are not going to know every type of fighting school from around the world, because you were very centralized back then. Information did not travel as it does in our wonderfully interconnected world today. And so there was a disconnect, and people just survived during that time period. But, consolations had to be made to make this game both entertaining and obviously playable. But with that said, developers at Warhorse definitely really focused on using pros that are very knowledgeable in the true combat techniques of the time period, and the buildings and everything are historically accurate for the time period. There were scans taken, pictures taken, references to legitimate documents of the time period, and with that said, this world is a legitimate attempt to recreate the world of Bohemia in that time period. The events that take place in this, obviously your character is a fictional character and his story is fictional, but a lot of the events that take place for your character are historical events, and your historical life takes place kind of in a parallel to these real life events. And so you can, with a fictional tint, interact with real life things that happen in the game, and in a historical period. So I'm not by any means a historical buff or prodigy or anything like that, but I do commend the developers for how heavily they sought to recreate that time and how much attention to the time period that they really did. A lot of people who are historical buffs and really do have a deep knowledge of that time period say that this is one of the most accurate representations of that time, of that era, and the things that are involved in that of any game that has ever come out. So that is something that can be appreciated, I think, even by those of us who are not truly historical buffs or experts in that field. So what that also equates to is, back to the combat, back to the questions of people saying, is this game truly fun? There are a few consolations that had to be made to the combat, but the combat, it is tactical and it is semi-realistic. You mess up a couple of times, you're not wearing the proper armor, and you die quickly. But what it does is it creates a tactical but a engaging and rewarding experience. It didn't take me very long to figure out what not to do and what to do, and it doesn't take you very long following the main story. You just have to get a couple of missions in, and you unlock quite a few abilities quickly that allow the combat to be very deep, but easy to at least get a taste of, so that way you're not just you don't have any cheap deaths, so to speak. You take on, there's a weight to every time you engage in combat. There are times where you decide it is best for you to tuck tail and run, or it is best for you to be sneaky, and having that option leads us into the next thing. You have full player agency, not an illusion of player agency. Everything you do in this world, almost every situation that you come across in this world, gives you the ability to decide that you can talk your way out of a fight. You can go in guns blazing if you think you're that good. You can sneak around, poison the people, or you can bribe people. You can ask for help from the local armies, and you can even sneak around and shoot people with bows in the dead of night, or kill them silently as a stealthy assassin. And by doing the things that you do is how your character progression works. So there's a very deep integral RPG element that works based on what you do as a character. And so you play the game the way you want, which gives you a replayability aspect. I mean, obviously the story mostly doesn't change, the main storyline, but the side missions will. The people react to you based on how you look, who you are, how you interact with them, and so you can have a very vastly different experience just by playing the game two different times in two completely different ways. And so if you're into RPGs, if you're into truly taking on the role of the person you're playing, this is not a boring game. This is a very immensely rewarding experience where you can truly take on the role of this character in this time period. And it's not a perfect game. There's definitely some bugs right now, some of which are game breaking for people. I've experienced a couple of bugs that fortunately weren't game breaking. I've been stuck a couple of times. I've had the game paused and let it sit for hours and hours, come back and then skip through some cutscenes because they were, I've had multiple gameplays, so I've skipped cutscenes that I already knew all the dialogue options to, and only to come out of the cutscene to have no buildings render, things like that. Some of the glitches are funny. Some of them hurt people. They have to load back a save. But Warhorse is definitely listening to people. They're trying to get the catastrophic stuff out of the game as quickly as possible and fix that for people. And so they're listening. They're hopefully they're working on implementing a new game plus experience for people. They have already expressed a significant interest in supporting mods for people later on for the PC community. So that will definitely give you, kind of the Skyrim-esque extensive replayability experience where you can add things to this game that necessarily weren't in the original part and really make for something that's completely different than your first few playthroughs. So kind of to recap, let's see if there's anything here that I missed. The story, which it's not the greatest almighty thing that there ever was, but it's a believable story. You come from these humble beginnings, and if something for you is where you become this almighty creature, if you have to have magic or this over-the-top flamboyant combat where you become the greatest being in the entire gaming universe, so to speak, then yes, this game will probably be boring to you because you never become truly the most powerful being in this land. You are always still just a mortal human that can be killed and can be taken out with poor gameplay or being hungry, tired, being underdeveloped, being under armored or equipped at the time. I'm stuck. These are minor things. You get stuck on little bushes and stuff. And I'm doing this in the dead of night, which is terrible. So I tell you what, let's wait for daylight. But if those are the things you must have in order to enjoy a game, then by all means, I would say distance yourself from this. But if you're on the fence and you're okay with what I've said, if you're okay with being mortal, but some of the things I've said earlier in this video are something that maybe turned you, then by all means, I highly recommend giving it a shot. Even if it's something that you have to wait for a sale on. There's an immense game. There's a rough gem that I believe Warhorse Studios has all intention of definitely doing the polishing that it needs to do in order to make it an immense quality game. That's definitely not what I wanted to do. We're nowhere close to where we want to be. Actually, it's going to be over here. But so let me kind of show you just real quick, since I've completely not paid attention to where I was supposed to be going. This Warhorse stuff is the equipment that is the pre-order, and as you can see, the value of it is all 1 groschen, and it's pretty good gear. Since you're not seeing any other gear in juxtaposition to it, you can't tell, but I have gear on my other character that is definitely higher in defensive properties, but it is also extremely high valued, which means that my character still has not leveled up enough of his maintenance ability to fix it himself, and it is extremely costly to have someone else repair the gear. So I'm still using my Warhorse and putting that stuff away until I get either my level of my maintenance stuff up higher, or get a significant sum of money put away in order to be able to continuously repair it, or get good enough at combat that I'm no longer ever hit. So it's good starter stuff, but I don't think it's game breaking. And again, it is something you can look up. I'm several days away from having ever looked this stuff up before, so trying to do it off of memory and not doing so hot. But it is fairly simple to find. 4 out of the 5 places can be done immediately. The 5th place is in a very hard chest, which will require a significant amount of lockpick leveling up in order to unlock. But once you do, that's some of the last pieces, the actual cuirass and things of that nature to finalize your character in complete warhorse gear. But you can find some other things to finish out until you get that. So, but ladies and gentlemen, that's really all I have for you. In summation, if you were on the fence for this, I hope this gave you any new information that's not, from the 900 other people that are already been talking about this. It's worth a look if you're on the fence. If you're just looking for another flat-out Skyrim, if you're just looking for another flat-out Witcher, where you become the most feared creature in the game world, this is not the game for you. But if you're looking for another hidden gem that has possibilities for growth, or you're looking for something that enjoys looking historically back with obviously some entertainment consolations made, then this is definitely a underrepresented gem. So I appreciate everybody. Don't watch my videos. They're all horrible and boring, and I ramble like I just did. But go find somebody and watch. Yes, watching someone play this is probably boring, but once you get a controller in your hands and actually fight the people, it's a vastly different experience, and I highly recommend it. I appreciate everybody, and I hope to see you on the other side.